Welcome back. Now, scores of people are gathered at the CSIR International Convention Centre in Pretoria for a spectacular showcase of research, technology and innovation at the 2024 Science Forum South Africa. The forum, which is hosted by the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation and its stakeholders, which aims to ignite discussions on the role of science in society. We're told that more than 5,000 delegates from different parts of the continent will be attending this forum.
Was abuzz as the 8th Annual Science Forum South Africa gathered over 5,000 delegates from 80 countries to explore the transformative power of science. Hosted by the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation in collaboration with the Science Diplomacy and Capital for Africa. The forum featured exhibitions, public outreach activities, and engaging discussions on artificial intelligence, robotics, and the role of science in advancing society.
As the Agricultural Research Council, we are a prime science institution within the country that conducts research, that develops partnerships, human capital to foster innovation for a sustainable agricultural sector.
Former Minister of Science and Technology Naledi Pandor was one of the speakers at the gathering.
I was asked to reflect on 30 years of our endeavors of science, technology and innovation in a democratic South Africa, and perhaps to refer to some of the progress, but also reflect on some of the challenges. I think it's always interesting for those of us who've not been with the history all the time to look at our beginnings, to understand, in order to understand our progress and some of our failings. Speaking in 1994, the first minister of this portfolio, Dr. Ben Ngubane, announced the creation of a national archival system aligned with, he said, the democratic principles of our new constitution. In the 30 years, I believe South Africa has shown its seriousness about investing in science, technology and innovation. But we should be concerned at the current decline in funding, and we must do all that we can as scientists to contribute to greater innovation outcomes, to novel products and to commercialization, to boost our economy, to cause it to grow so that we have more resources for that which we are seriously concerned about.
Across the world, nations are increasingly seeking to harness the potential of science as an instrumental for growth and development. According to the Science, Technology and Innovation Department, gatherings of this nature are vital in accelerating innovation efforts. For Newzroom Afrika on DStv channel 405, I am Kanyisile Mulaba.
Now, for more on the Science Forum Showcase and the latest science and technology innovations coming out of the country, let's speak to Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Blade Nzimande. Very good evening to you, Dr. Nzimande. Now, as we know, South Africa has become quite a big player in the world of science. When one thinks of, our many innovations that are originating from here, like the SKA project, building the world's largest radio telescope, we're leading in research for malaria and TB. So what makes this Science Forum so important for South Africa?
Thank you, Masa. I hope that I'm audible. Thanks to you and 405 for inviting me. Firstly, this Science Forum, which we call Science Forum South Africa, has actually become, on its 10th occasion, the single biggest science event on the African continent. It has, for instance, this time attracted for the first time more than 6,000 participants, of which 4,000 were physical. The rest were actually connecting virtually from over 80 countries, and is the largest since its inception. And it had, amongst other things, 68 panel discussions on a whole range of issues. Now, what has also been significant about this is that we used this to launch our first ever survey, which was done by the Human Sciences Research Council, one of our entities, on South Africa's public relations with science. In other words, what's South Africa's attitude and relationship with science, which is something that is very important if we are to advance science. We're officially releasing those results, which I hope you as the media, you will be able to chew them bit by bit, hopefully over the next few months, so that we are able to understand better what is this relationship. The other important thing is that we actually had a youth innovation session, because always when as South Africa are convening science events, we also have got dedicated sessions that focus on youth and its participation in science and innovation. We had a number of exhibitions. One of the exhibitions that we're very happy about was the exhibition by the South African Police Service on its forensic laboratory, which is very important, as you know, this forensic laboratory, because it's used to test all sorts of things. People's blood or people's imprint in crime scenes, in instances of gender-based violence, so that we are able to catch the culprits. So SAPS was actually demonstrating that. Also, we were showcasing our own science infrastructure capabilities, for instance, what the square kilometer array that is going to be built in Carnarvon is doing, and also Africa Science Cooperation, which is something that is very important on how we cooperate as African countries in science, and much more importantly, Masa, to place Africa's research agenda at the place of what we need to do as Africa, rather than a research agenda for Africa that is determined by donors, which has been the case, which sometimes doesn't actually address the kinds of issues that we want to address in the continent. And we're doing all this now under our mantra as the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, which is placing science, technology and innovation at the center of government, industry, and of society as a whole. But also the last thing I'd just like to say for now is that the importance of Science Forum South Africa 2024 has also been to begin to engage around the importance of science in South Africa's presidency of the G20. Science is going to be one of the critical pillars in our presidency of the G20, and then for the Science Forum to begin to signal what are the critical issues in terms of shaping a global science agenda that must be beneficiary to, firstly, the African continent, the global south, and indeed the world as a whole. So those are the key issues that I've just outlined that have been canvassed in this very important Science Forum South Africa 2024.
And they really are key, Minister. And just before I let you go, just in a minute, briefly so, you know, you've also spoken about the presentation by SAPS and the role that science can play not only in health, but also in fighting crime as well. But also the role, I want to talk about the role that science can play when it comes to unemployment. We are facing high unemployment crisis in South Africa. From this forum, are there any solutions or ideas coming up in the world of science about curbing this?
Well, there are a whole lot of issues about the fact that science must be at the center of our economic development from a number of angles. First of all, we are facing, though there's a huge improvement, problems with our electricity. So this session has also been exploring alternative sources of energy and sustainable sources of energy, like hydrogen, for instance. the issue of how we use our coal that we have in abundance, but produce it as clean coal, and also the modernization of South African industry and industry in the African continent. For instance, mining, which is still a huge part of our economy. How do we modernize mining such that we save lives, such that we actually extract better? And also, how do we use science towards something very important, which is beneficiation of our minerals, that we don't just dig our minerals from the soil and then just take them over to the stations, to be exported to all over the world as raw minerals. So one of the things that we've been discussing about, we export a lot of diamond, raw diamond, all over the world. And then we buy it as rings, as necklaces, coming from outside, very expensive, as if these things were actually not produced in South Africa as raw materials. Science has a critical role to play. And in all of that, we are placing at the center the need for job creation and the need for participation by ordinary South Africans in growing our economy and creating jobs.
Dr. Nzimande, unfortunately, we have run out of time, but that is exciting developments as well coming out of your department and the world of science. So thank you so much for joining us.